a writer who's not writing. You're not stuck. Okay? You just need to sit down and do it. Yeah, and you also need to...
I need to stop up what he's doing.
You need to nourish yourself. Yeah, that's important. Elizabeth.
I've been a blog for about 3.5 years, and like two times a week, really, vignettes and things like that. And it was just at that moment I needed to do that. And it was fun, and I was curious and how you interact with other people, and had all these followers and the whole thing. And then it was like Forrest Gump, you know, he ran across the country and back, and then one day in the middle of the desert he just stopped. And one day I woke up and I said, you know what? I've said all that I needed to say about that, and I was starting to write something that was kind of going back to the same thing. I said, you know what? I don't need to do that anymore right now. I don't have anything else to say about that particular thing right now. Blogs have have kind of lifespans, and then you've done it, and it's time to move on or something, and kind of close from one day to the next. But it's still there that it's going to, when I'm ready, and I have something else that I need to talk about, then we'll go back. But I haven't identified what it is I need to talk about now.
But it served its purpose when you were
Yes, very much so.
Jessica Kennedy, the actress, I don't know if any of you remember her, she once said that an artist never completes a project, she just eventually gets bored with it and moves on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Yeah, great quote. Yeah.
Do you consider journaling writing?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Sometimes I think journaling is the best form of writing because it's something that you're doing for yourself. And it's a great way to start, by the way. We'll get to that in a second. Yes.
Linda Crowley, I am back now after a dozen years or so in overseas, but I am in a state, the Lighthouse Project that the federal government is now trying to sell its landmarks. And in saving the lighthouse started documenting, and the documenting turns out to be the history. The history turned out to be a story. The story turned into interest, which led to fundraising to save the lighthouse. So it really became a cause, and between that and the American Red Cross as an instructor and staff director, you're going into situations that are created by unnatural events that normally are not planned. And you just need to be ready to do that at any time to help someone, regardless of whether or not they admit they need help. And the ones that need help, perhaps, are my two sons, who not only are talented and gifted and entertaining and majored in writing, they're not writing. So I thought, well, I'm going to start writing and get this going, and then maybe they can excel over me.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Yes. Take you first and then Anne.
Okay. I'm a translator.
Oh,
which is a form of writing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it gives me a lot of satisfaction trying to translate the right word to convey the same meaning. Very literally. Yeah. But I also write. I love information. I'm really an information freak, and I love to write my own articles from research I do or things that I read about. And I rewrite them or whatever, which is, I find, very creative, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's extremely creative. Translating is, we'll talk about right brain, left brain activity. You know, you've got to have the analytical stuff together to handle the basic vocabulary, but then you have to be extremely creative to make it work in your own language. That's really important. My last book was translated into German. It's the first time I've gone through that process, working with a translator. Fortunately, because I speak German, I was able to work with her, and it was a wonderful experience. Anne?
I like to write just because I think it's a good form of expression, and I noticed something really interesting, and that is that I can clarify my thoughts better if I write. I'll write something down, and then I'll read it over, and I'll think, oh, no, this has to go like this, and this will go over here. So it helps me to organize and structure my thoughts so that I'm better able to say what I want to say. And
I've heard other writers say that it helps them figure out how it is they think, what it is they think about something.
Yeah.
You know, it's structure. Yeah. It organizes your brain instead of having all these things bouncing around. You can really focus on. Okay, one more. No. Okay.
I write different things, not a little bit where I kind of stuck,
At first, I stopped, and then years later, I started again, or months later, because I've been writing more than that. But I've written for our club magazine, and I write about our travel reports, but I also write more personal things that are therapeutic. In one way or another, it's part of me that it's always sort of there are stories in the back of my head that I think I've got to write it down, and then my daily life gets involved, and I keep pushing it forward, so I don't do it yet. And then sometimes I do it.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, writers write,
Yeah.
and there's no big mystery to it. You've got to put your butt in the chair and do it, which leads nicely into this next quote, which this is from an article I wrote for the Writer magazine, which is a great magazine, by the way. If you're looking for a monthly publication that will give you tips and prompts about not just the creative part of writing, but also the business end of it. It's a good magazine. Writing presents the same challenges as learning a musical instrument. There aren't any shortcuts. You need passion, patience, and long hours of practice every single day. It's a critical thing. Until you get it right. Savor the tiny victories as they're happening, and you win the artist's race one step at a time. Don't wait for the book launch party to break out the champagne. Instead, revel in the honest victory of each well-crafted sentence. That's a victory. If you write a good sentence, that's like, yeah. It's almost as good as being the Falco, Falco wrestling word. Celebrate. Remember that the joy of writing reveals itself when you make your stories sing. Practice as much as you can, and you'll find the music in your words. It's there. Okay, reasons not to write quickly. You want to be famous. You want to be rich. You might win the Falco Rebel. You want to be rich. You can imagine the book launch and the champagne and the long lines of adoring fans lining up to get your autograph. Not a reason to write. Quick story, when my first book launched, I was at Book Expo America in the United States, in New York City. It's the biggest book convention. And they had this thing there called the Autograph Circle, and authors who got a publisher's weekly start review, which I was lucky enough to get, it was like winning a lottery, get invited to participate in this. And what happens is each author is given a position at a desk, and there's a long aisle that goes down from that desk. And people line up in the aisle to get the author's autograph and receive a free copy of the book. Okay. Who do you think is at the desk next to me? No. Tom Wolfe. In his white suit, okay? And I'm saying to my publicist, this is not a good idea, Nina. This is not good. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody's going to come and, get in line for a book by a piano player that they've never heard of. It's not going to work. So Tom Wolfe is there, and at the end of the aisle there's a gate. When the clock strikes the bell, they raise the gate, and all the people come running down. Have you ever been there, Becky? No? Okay. So, of course, exactly what I predicted was going to happen happened. They ring the bell. Tom Wolfe is a stampede over there, and I'm there, and there's nobody. Nobody. And I said, Nina, there's nobody here. I told you this wasn't going to work. And then all of a sudden, this woman was walking down the aisle, and Nina said, look, you have somebody, she's coming. And as the person got nearer, I realized that she was somebody I had written about in my book, and not very nicely. I changed her name and everything, but I thought, oh my God, she's going to kill me. She had that Kathy Bates book, So, I said to Nina, no, this isn't a fan. This is dangerous. And Nina, the publicist, says to me, I don't care who she is. Stay there until I can get some other people in. So Kathy Bates comes down, and it was innocent. She hadn't recognized herself in the book. She saw my name in the thing and remembered me from college, so that's why she was there. Nina went over and she poached people from Tom Wolfe. Brought them over. Okay, so that was her story.